I would imagine climate has a huge impact on food availability and margins and all of the other things that matter to the food industry. In the time that you've run Journey Foods and in the time that you've just been in the space, how have you seen climate events change and disrupt the industry?
Yeah, I mean, climate events can, change a, whole entire grocery experience, right? And we see those things in the prices going up. You have a bad crop or you have a rare frost, right? Like these farmers that tried to start early or started on time can lose like a whole, I mean, there's some farmers in Georgia that I think have lost like 70% of their strawberry crop. And people don't think about this a lot, and more often than not, the smaller farmers, the minority farmers don't have the insurance, the livelihood, the data, the teams, or the facilities to combat some of the loss from climate, from weather events. I was just talking to one of the largest Black farmers in the country, right? He has thousands of acres of land, supplies to General Mills and Walmart and Pepsi. And we were talking about purchasing land over leasing it, because a lot of farmers are still leasing, but institutional investors are purchasing big lots of land, 500,000, 10,000 acres of farmland. And these are pension funds, retirement funds, and large billionaire investors gaining control of our food supply.
It's a big question, and I'm not going to ask you how do we solve it, right? But what are some of the things, well, maybe some of the steps that we can do on a larger level? Like, we know that we can make different shopping decisions. Yeah. We're trying to help people understand that they can make different investing decisions, which forces the issue for these companies to think differently and to respond to the pressure that we, not just as consumers, but as investors, are putting on them. But is there something else that we all could be doing, just everyday people, that could help us solve or make some of these products different and better for us?
Yeah, I mean, as everyday people, it's hard to tell people eat better, spend your money better. These are behavioral changes that are like very, very hard to get through. But in many ways, the way that we ate 70, 80 years ago, our grandparents ate, they were entrepreneurs in the home, right? They were farming and growing and gardening for their own families, and we need to find out the smallest ways to do that, even if it's just your herbs, right? Start there. There's a lot of pride in starting there. But beyond that, it's like we need to be very intentional about where we purchase and asking ourselves, how do we create like our own manufacturers, our own local supply chains, and like going into those unsexy parts of the supply chain, both in your home and in your neighborhood and community, I think it can shift us somewhat in the next couple of years,
The more you connect the dots, the more you realize this isn't just about food. It's about how we invest, the health of our communities, and the long-term impact on the planet. And once you understand the role you play as an investor in sustaining this system, you start to recognize something else too, your power to change it. Yeah, it's so interesting as I'm connecting these dots, because we started out this conversation talking about food and food supply. And I personally believe that we just don't talk enough about food, even though it's something that we are all reliant on. And we certainly know the impact that our food decisions have on our long-term health. And now we're, connecting the dots to even think about these other broader issues like climate change, how in many ways that makes it even more challenging for us to have readily available fresh products, or, may make certain products less available, and all of a sudden it's more expensive, and now you're pricing out people, and now people are forced to buy more affordable things, and it just seems like such a vicious cycle. And through it all, our investments, like to your point, like a lot of times we're just looking at the bottom line or the top line and looking at the growth of our portfolio, but we're not thinking about all of the things underneath it that are being impacted by our investment decisions. And so we know, for one, there are certain things that we can do from an investing standpoint to move your money from funding companies who are doing harm to the environment. Like that, we know is a big thing, but are there other things that you can think of from your perspective that people may be able to do that they may not be thinking about?
I think about like ways that things were grown and cared for and how we ate. Just like before the last World War. And that's what you should try to lean into a little bit more. I think that will help climate. Just like eat how your grandma and grandpa used to eat. And that's really how I think we most simply try to, or it can affect more positive change in climate.
So bacon and whiskey.
Not your grandpa.
Your own bacon, your own pig, and your own moonshine and whiskey.
Yeah.
Now this last thought is for the women. I'm gonna get close. Because women have always been at the center of change. We manage households, communities, businesses, and whether we get credit for it or not, we have always shaped economies. Food is just one industry, but there are so many others where we can invest for better. We don't have to do everything at once. We just have to start. Because when women move, everything moves. And this is our moment to move together.